Israel's parliament takes a symbolic step towards claiming sovereignty over Judea and Samaria. And meanwhile, tensions spike between the U.S. and Iranian forces in the Gulf of Oman. Chuck Holton reports from Jerusalem.
In a move that could have major implications for the future of the region, Israel's parliament Wednesday passed a symbolic resolution calling for the full application of sovereignty over Judea, Samaria, and the Jordan Valley. While the vote has no immediate legal effect, it signals growing momentum within the ruling coalition to formalize control over the biblical heartland.
The Knesset approved a historic declaration to apply full Israeli sovereignty over our homeland, Judea and Samaria.
More than 700,000 Jewish Israelis now live in those areas, while nearly 3 million Palestinians remain under Israeli military law. The motion follows last year's resolution opposing a Palestinian state and could mark a turning point in Israeli policy. While eyes remain on Judea and Samaria, Gaza continues to dominate international headlines. Israeli officials say they're doing everything possible to get aid to civilians, but accuse Hamas of blocking deliveries and the United Nations of refusing to cooperate.
Let me start with the facts and not the fiction. In Gaza today, there is no famine caused by Israel. There is, however, a man-made shortage engineered by Hamas. Now, too often, the full story is not being told. This suffering exists because Hamas has created it.
He noted aid is delivered through two channels: the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which has delivered tens of millions of meals to civilians, and UN-coordinated shipments of raw materials delivered to Gaza bakeries and communal kitchens. President Isaac Herzog visited Gaza Wednesday to inspect military progress and the humanitarian situation.
We are acting here according to international law, providing humanitarian aid according to international law, and those trying to sabotage the humanitarian efforts are Hamas and its people who are spinning this to prevent our forces from dismantling infrastructures that could harm us and our citizens.
Despite over 950 aid trucks cleared and ready for distribution inside Gaza, the United Nations continues to refuse to work with the IDF. Israeli officials say the UN is more invested in bashing Israel than feeding hungry Gazans. Meanwhile, the IDF has concluded an internal investigation into last week's strike on Gaza's only Catholic church. They say the building was hit by a misfired artillery shell caused by a technical malfunction, not a targeted attack. But that hasn't stopped recent accusations that Israel is persecuting Christians.
There is no crisis. Where there is a crisis is that the pro-Hamas movement are trying to engineer a crisis. This is purely an engineered crisis. We take our relationship with the Christian community extremely seriously. Israel is the only country where the number of Christians are increasing. It's the only country in hundreds of miles in any direction where Christians are free to practice their faith freely without restrictions.
Outside Gaza, regional tensions remain high. An Iranian Navy helicopter confronted the USS Fitzgerald after it neared Iranian waters in the Gulf of Oman. The aircraft reportedly issued a warning before the destroyer threatened to shoot it down, the first confrontation since the 12-day war ended mid-June. And ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas may be inching forward. President Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff arrived in Doha with hopes of securing a deal that could include a humanitarian corridor and the release of Israeli hostages. An answer from Hamas may be forthcoming as soon as today. From Jerusalem, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Well, it's a long dream of a two-state solution. It literally goes back to the British Mandate in the 1920s, 1930s. And we have to keep in mind that history. Every single time, the Palestinians refused it. And the reason they refused it is they did not want a Jewish state. So in 1948, Israel declared its independence, and the UN recognized the modern state of Israel. And what did the Arab nations do? Well, they declared war. And in that war, they lost it. And even then, when Israel said, well, here's land for you to create your own state, again, they refused it. And it became Transjordan and part of Jordan. And in that, there was the Jews weren't allowed. I mean, you couldn't be in the West Bank. You couldn't even be in the Jewish quarter of Jerusalem. In 1967, after the Six-Day War, again, an offer absolutely refused. And it's amazing how many times they can refuse it and the international community doesn't wake up. Well, these people don't really want peace. What they want is to wipe Israel off the map. And so today, when you hear that cry from the river to the sea, that's what they're talking about, and that's what's being echoed. Let us stand with Israel. Israel has a right to exist. The Jewish people have a right to self-determination. They also have a right to self-defense. And this ideology of hate has to be named for what it is. And it is a genocidal ideology to wipe Israel off the map and kill every single Jew in Israel. As a Christian, we have to stand with Israel. It's the right thing to do. It's also the godly thing to do.